Hi everyone. Let's work through problem 17-27 that appears in front of you. This is a demonstration of throughput, absorption, and variable costing. The problem isn't a very good screen copy, but it's the best I could get. Adelphia Corporation uses throughput costing, just completed its first year of operations. Planned and actual production were 10,000 units, and sales were 9,600 at $216 per unit, and we have some cost data appearing in that table. Okay, now the company classifies only the direct material cost as part of throughput costing. Alright, let's compute the company's total cost for the year, assuming that they're using variable manufacturing costs, assuming that the variable manufacturing costs are driven by the number of units produced, and the variable selling and administrative costs are driven by the number of units sold. Okay, so to tackle that one, let's first take a look at direct material. We know that direct material is 10,000 units at $36, right? So why don't we put the solution right about here? That's going to be equal 10,000 units times that. Go ahead and format everything with no decimal places, and we'll work for that. Okay, then we need to add in direct labor, right? And what's direct labor? It's 135,000 given in our problem. Okay, now let's consider the variable manufacturing overhead. I'm going to abbreviate. Variable manufacturing overhead is 195,000. How about fixed manufacturing overhead? 660. Alright, now we need to consider the variable selling and administrative costs. And here we're talking about what? 9,600 units at $24 per unit. So the last item we need to consider is fixed selling and administrative costs. And that's what? 354,000, right? Yep, type it right. Okay, if we sum that, we get the total. And that answers part one, which is to compute the company's total cost for the year, assuming that the variable costs are driven by units produced, and the variable selling and administrative are driven by units sold. So that's the answer to part one. And why don't I just write that as that's requirement one. And I know you can't see that on the screen because it got cut off. That's okay. Now let's slide up a little bit and we can work on part two. Okay, part two says how much of this cost would be held in year-end inventory under the three costing methods. So let's take a look at that one now. I think I want to slide back up and pull the labels so we don't have to type a whole lot of this again. Okay, now I've copied from above. Let's just label the various methods going across. So if we use absorption costing, variable, and throughput, this a little bit bigger here. Okay, so we can see that. Maybe widen this a hair. We'll look at under these various ways. Alright, well, in all of these cases, it's exactly the same, right? 360. So we should be able to copy and paste that right here. I know you can't see that, so let me slide back up where you can see. So that's exactly the same. Now, direct labor, the 135, applies under absorption and variable, but not under throughput costing. Variable manufacturing, the same thing. And under absorption is the only place where we apply the fixed manufacturing overhead. And in the others, those are going to be, 0. I'll put those right there. So now let me get rid of this and type in what we would call a subtotal here would be the total product cost. And if I sum from above, I get that number. Copy. Let's underline. Okay, now that's the cost. There's the cost under the three methods. Now let's compute the cost per unit. And so what we're going to do is take the cost and divide it by the 10,000 units, right? So we've got $135, $69, $36. And now if we wanted to compute what's in year-end inventory, we would take, what did they say, 400 units, right? 10,000 units less than 9,600. That's what we'd have less, times the cost, the appropriate cost. I'm going to slide this back. I don't think we need to indent that. And we would take equal 400 times that amount to come up what the inventory would be under these three different costing methods. Okay, why don't we stop here in this demo, and that answers requirement 1 and requirement 2. And I'll label that for us. So there's the requirement 2, and the answers we were looking for, I believe, were these three numbers. Requirement 1, you see the answer there.